Welcome to the Card Diary by Hobby S. Thompson. I am your host, Denny Cards, and this is episode 87. I feel like for a long time, the past few episodes, I've been just doing these monologue episodes. I miss having guests, and I thought, who better than someone that I am, in a way, not a you know, financial or legal partnership, but I will be the show ambassador for the Sports Card Show in Arlington, Virginia. That's happening this Saturday. We are recording this August 21st. I plan to publish this out August 22nd. And on Kobe Day, August 24th, Bailey, Fire Sports Cards, is going to be hosting. He is the promoter, and I am his ambassador. So we are going to be doing that show. And I figured who better than to have him on to talk about how it is to be a show promoter. This is his first time. And I just wanted to shine a spotlight onto Bailey and what he's doing. So welcome to the podcast, Bailey.
Thank you, Denny. I appreciate you having me. Definitely excited to talk about the show, talk about non-show stuff. Excited to talk about everything.
Yeah, so there are some guests where I've never talked to them beforehand. I'm new to maybe not the way they speak because I've seen them on maybe, social media, or I kind of get a sense of them, and they're public facing. That said, you may very well be a newer face to many of the listenership, except for some of our mutual friends who are local, which is great. But having said that, you and I have had many conversations because, again, you are a local friend. This show is very local to me. I'm like just one city or county over in Alexandria. We've met up numerous, I don't know, trade nights, card shows. We almost went to the national together, and that kind of fizzled out for me. But you had a great time. But yeah, we've hung out. We've eaten wings together, right?
We have eaten a few different types of wings together on multiple occasions, actually.
Right. Dry rub, wet rub, Korean barbecue, and all that stuff. So, before we get to the show, we just mentioned the national. I would love to kind of talk about, I would love for you to speak on kind of like where you are currently or in the past with your cardboard journey. Then maybe talk a little bit of the national, and then we can kind of get into the show stuff. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right, awesome. So, I've heard the story. I've actually met your dad before too. When you were set up, the first time I met you was at the Rhino Sports Card Show, which I'm not really sure if it's still in existence. But do you remember what part of Maryland it was in?
Yeah, it's in Elk Ridge, Maryland, maybe like 15 minutes south of downtown Baltimore.
Yeah, it was in Elk Ridge, Maryland, in a volunteer fire station
Yep.
house.
Yep.
Yeah.
Elk Ridge Volunteer Fire Station.
And I came up to your table, we made a trade. Usually like these the thing that I love so much about these shows is, the community, right? And you didn't know me, I didn't know you. And we just made a trade and we kind of like clicked, we bonded, right? And I was talking to your
Definitely.
dad, and he was it didn't seem like he was set up. He was more of like kind of supportive of you. But does he collect too?
So he collects whatever I suggest he should collect. He loves sports. He grew up in New England, so he's a Patriots fan. He's a Celtics and Wizards fan. Red Sox fan. So any kind of cards along, those lines he enjoys to collect. So recently he got an in-person autograph of Robert Parrish. He's really been enjoying having that. For Father's Day, I got him a Rafael Devers patch auto. So he's got a growing collection, but he just takes recommendations, and he enjoys player autographs. He enjoys taking recommendations. And if it's not a player that he doesn't have any like personal connection with, he doesn't really care.
Okay, gotcha. So, and one thing I did want to note is I did adjust my gain level. So I don't know if my audio earlier was bad, but we're gonna just power through. So it seems like you are an influencer, at least to your dad. You influence his card purchases.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, on my dad's side at least, like he understands that if I'm suggesting for him to buy something, that he'll definitely enjoy it. I, but yeah, I mean, beyond that, I definitely trying to grow more into, I guess, the card influencer kind of space. Yeah,
So does he inspire or influence you with your card? Like I'm guessing when you were younger that he did influence your sport love of sports.
yeah. So when I was younger, he definitely influenced my love of sports. I will say I don't think a ton of it necessarily stuck specifically because he's a New England fan, so Red Sox, Patriots. He went to college and lived in DC for a while, so that's why he's a Wizards fan. Uh, but I'm a New York sports fan, Yankees, Giants, Knicks. So there's definitely a bit of a rivalry there. But I think it promotes a nice, healthy relationship because we can kind of make fun of each other's teams whenever we're doing bad. We can support each other whenever each other's
Mhm.
teams is doing well, which is a little bit easier right now that there's no Tom Brady on the Patriots. But yeah,
Right. Yeah, they're definitely easier to beat now.
yeah,
But no, I mean, isn't that what this is all about, right? I mean, I kind of I've explored this numerous times on my podcast, and my content is like the cards are wonderful. That's why we're here, but like why do we stay? Not just why do we come into the hobby? We can talk about the whole flipping and all the ways to make money in the hobby, but like it's ultimately just it's my theory or thesis, whatever you want to call it. It's we stay for the bonds like this. You have this special relationship with your father through sports.
yeah, yeah. No, like I remember as young as like 2 or 3 years old. I'm pretty sure my earliest sets of cards from like packs that I opened were 2002.
Wow.
But like those were from us going to Walmart, CVS, getting like the dollar packs off of the hanger or out of the retail box, and just being excited about getting players that you enjoyed watching. And it was something that we would do pretty much every week because back then you could get packs of cards for not much money. So it would just be a very fun way to be able to bond with my dad, and it was a good way to educate me on active players, on historical players. Yeah, definitely a good way to help get me into sports as a very young kid.
Right. Yeah, just reading the backs of the cards back when they had actual statistics and information and a little narrative and
Instead of saying
just
congratulations for receiving this card.
yeah, they want to congratulate us now. It's like we've now become the just tell us that it's player worn and just be happy with it. So
If
yeah,
it's player
so
worn.
right, yeah, no, exactly. So let's see. Did you? So I already know the answer to this, but like you went to the national. You didn't go with your dad. Have you? Was this your first national? I mean, I think I know the answer to that, but just to set the table.
No, this is my third national. So I went to Atlantic City back in 2022. I was in
Hmm.
Chicago last year, and then this is my third, or was my third, I should say.
Three different years consecutive and three different venues. So can you maybe, before we get to kind of the show promotion and what got you inspired in doing all of that, kind of the like a contrast, maybe even a ranking, like 22, 23, 24.
So I mean, 22 definitely holds a special place in my heart because I had honestly found out that sports cards were, very were popular again weeks beforehand. Uh, so I had bought one blaster box of cards and I pulled a one of one from it, very first blaster box back in like 15 years. So that got me pretty thrust back into it. And I found out that the national was happening not too far. I'm from New Jersey,
Hmm.
so I found out the national was happening not too far away from where I was from. So it was an opportunity to go back home, visit family. I But yeah, so that one will always hold a special place in my heart. That being said,
Hmm.
Atlantic City is an interesting place, I think, for a card show, considering that Atlantic City itself is a fun kind of place to be, but as soon as you get outside of that, there's not much. Like you're driving through the Pine Barrens for 45 minutes before you get there.
Right.
So it was an interesting place, but yeah, like I said, holds a very special place in my heart.
Before we
I
get
yeah,
before we get to 2023, what was that one of one card?
it was a Christian Pache. It was from Topps Gypsy Queen. Uh, and I know that Pache, like it was back when Pache was still on the Braves,
Okay.
and since then he's gone to the Athletics. He's gone to the Phillies. He's gone to the Orioles for like a day. I think he's on the Marlins now. So he's
Journeyman
just
already.
trying to stick in the MLB.
Gotcha.
But I still have the card.
I was just about to ask you,
Yeah,
do you still have the card? Is it graded or is it still in its original form?
yeah, it's graded. It was my first ever grading submission that
Oh
I
wow.
included that in. I sent it off to BGS because honestly, I remember when I was trying to submit it to PSA, there were just so many hoops that I had to jump through in order to actually get PSA to. It was honestly really confusing to figure out how to submit my cards to PSA when I was
Mm-hmm.
pretty new to it. So I was just like, all right, forget that. I'm just going to submit it to Beckett. And I got it Beckett 9.5, so I'll take that.
Gotcha. All right, cool, cool. Well, it's in your it probably well, it certainly I imagine holds more sentimental value than monetary value given his journeyman status already. So, but I
Yeah,
didn't know that story. That's cool. Christian
yeah,
Pache.
definitely.
At first I was like, who are you talking about? But I think I've seen some of his rookie cards. And yeah, and he's a baseball player. So okay, well that's cool. So that's 2022. Now, how about 2023?
Yeah, 2023, that was when I would say I had an understanding of how the hobby had actually changed since I was a kid. So rather than just going just to see, I kind of had like a plan in mind. I had, specific cards that I was trying to bring home with me. I had some friends that I was there to meet up with as well. I think I don't think this answer will come as a surprise to anyone who's been to any national, but I think Chicago is definitely the best place to have it. The venue's great. It's large enough. There's enough infrastructure in the area to actually be able to handle everyone coming in. And Chicago is, a fun city to be in. So, yeah, yeah, I won't dwell too much on 2023 because I think the answer there is kind of what everyone's expecting. That
Okay.
Chicago is the place to have it.
Well, and then we get to the place not to have it. 2024, Cleveland. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And this one's a lot more fresh in my mind. So I will say that I was for this national in Cleveland this year. I was able to have a lot more focused, or yeah, my intent in being there was a lot more focused. Because at that point I'd already known that I was going to be hosting my show, so I was able to go in with more business oriented goals as well
Mhm.
as just personal collection hobby oriented goals. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it a ton. I think at some point, like once you're ingrained into the hobby enough, like it doesn't really matter where it is. Like it's a fun time regardless. I
Yeah.
That being said, of course, I mean, so I remember when I was driving through Cleveland, like one of the first days of the show, I just did like a Siri thing. I was like, "Hey Siri, what's the population of Cleveland?" And I think the answer was like 375,000. And then
Wow.
it really clicked for me. I was like, okay, so there's 150,000 people attending the national. So we just increased the population of Cleveland by like 40%.
Yeah.
Uh,
Certainly
yeah.
happened. Yeah, it used to be a much more vibrant city, and then once LeBron left, everyone left. No, no kidding. But did you before I ask for the final rankings of the three, I think I already have a good sense of mind of what you're gonna say. Any good place? I mean, let's talk about some good and bad. Like any good places you ate, and then also just give us a man on the ground recap of just was it truly that bad with regards to getting in, parking, lines, bathrooms, and all that.
Yeah, sorry. Can you remind me of the first part of that question?
Oh, just places you ate, some positives. Like, I mean, did you enjoy a good meal? As you know, I'm the hungriest man in the hobby, so I always got to ask about the food.
Yeah, there is actually one restaurant that really sticks out in my mind. Funny enough, I don't remember the exact name of the place. I want to say the name of the place was just Authentic Cheesesteaks.
Nice.
Uh,
Get right to it.
but I'm a cheese. I love cheesesteaks so much.
Okay.
I went to Lehigh University, which is about an hour from Philly, and like where I
Hmm.
grew up in New Jersey is probably closer to Philly than it is to New York. So I'm
Gotcha.
just used to having good cheesesteaks, and it's easily the best cheesesteak I've had outside of the Philly area.
Outside of
Which,
Philly. Okay. Oh wow.
yeah,
Okay.
and like
Really good.
anyone who like is from or like been to the Philly area, I think they understand like the quality of cheesesteaks is just so much better in Philly.
So, we are recording after dinner, but I'm already getting hungry. This will really test. This will you'll either get points or lose points with the viewership or listenership here. Pat's or Geno's or Jim's.
Oh, Jim's.
Yeah, yep. There you go. See, that's the
I
one
was
that
gonna
people don't know
answer
about.
Pastor Gino's, like I probably Pat's, but neither. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Jim
Jim's.
South Street. That's
Yeah,
my
I've
spot.
had all three, and Pat. I think back back when I was much younger and I had much more of an appetite. I think I had Pat's and Geno's on the same day because I don't think a lot of people know,
That's
but they're like,
dangerous.
yeah, they're like right next. They're like dueling pianos basically.
Yep.
And Jim's is further away, but um, good answer, good answer. That's in the Family Feud number one.
Well, my actual favorite cheesesteak in Philly is Sonny's. It's on Market Street,
Okay.
just a little bit north of Jim's. I guess Jim's has multiple locations, but
Hmm.
Sonny's they make their own cheese whiz. If you've never been, try it
Whoa.
out.
I didn't know you could make your own cheese whiz. That sounds dangerous.
Yeah,
Um, that sounds awesome. I mean, I guess cheese whiz is just kind of like queso that's, just comes out in that uh CO2 canister or however they do it. I don't even know, but
yeah.
interesting. Okay, cool. So it seems like I would say the rankings for national venues or experiences 2023 is definitely number one. I'm guessing. I mean, well, no, actually, I won't say definitely. I think 2024 is definitely last. You did say that 2022 held us, a special place in your heart. Is it enough to take over Chicago 2023?
Definitely not enough to take over Chicago 2023. I think my answer here might actually be surprising to you. I would just general experience. I'd probably rank 2024 in Cleveland above Atlantic City,
Wow.
and I think
Okay.
it's
Oh, because
because
okay, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's because when I was in Atlantic City, I was really just trying to figure out what I was even doing there, and like
I see. I see. So not from a
yeah,
venue perspective, but just from your experience and kind of like, you were so new back into the hobby in 2022. You were almost like I know you now to be just such a sharp, motivated individual, but who knows what he's doing in the hobby. But two years prior to that, much like me, like I almost went to the Atlantic City National because my you know, the rated rabbi, who is, like basically a neighbor to me, was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to this card show," and he was my entry, my gateway back into the hobby, and he was like, "I'm going to the national, Atlantic City," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I've been to that," which I have been. I've been in, I think it was like 2009 and 2012.
yeah,
Uh, and both times in Baltimore. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've been to that." And and he was like, "Did you know cards are huge now? Back to being huge." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." Like he really tried to get me to go. I'm sure it would have been fun if I did, but it very much was like I mean, now, like, I mean, yes, I didn't go to 2024, but 2023, I went for almost the entire week. You for 2024 went for almost the entire week. Like, in 2022, because I had like no actual, I don't know, current experience, like the current landscape with grading and just retail and just everything is so different. Breaking, um, I would have gone as just kind of like a deer in the headlights, just kind of like what is going on here.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt in 2022. I think one of the things that will, like, hopefully quantify this for some people in 2022 when I was at the National, the main thing that I like the main like physical things I came away with were boxes of cards. Whereas, yeah, and whereas now, like, I'm coming away with singles.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a whole other obviously discussion that could take, I'm sure, many hours.
Right. Right. So, okay, before we get to the shows, and we're about 20 minutes in here, I did want
Okay.
to give you an update because I recently on Instagram, when I say recently, just this evening, made a post about how I have 119 cards out for grading with PSA, spanned across 5 separate orders. Um,
Curious how many of those are mine. I feel like it's got to be almost over half.
Exactly. So that's what I'm about to get to. So I have 5 orders. The most recent one is 21 and then 10, which is the NBA special. 21 again, which is a value bulk. Both of them are value bulks. 22, which is value bulk, and then 42, which is the July NFL 1990 special. So on that one, and I won't go through the entire thing. So out of 42 items, I believe, and I'll just reverse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only about 8 of them are mine. The rest of them are yours.
Yep, sounds
And
all right.
then and I won't do this for every single order, but then for the value bulk that we did like 2 weeks after, because it was in the month of August, you and our two mutual friends, we submitted. See, it says images coming soon, so I can't see it. But I was gonna do the count up. But I do love the PSA app. Not that they're a sponsor or anything like that, but it really does make it reduces friction with just seeing your cards, having it digitized. I haven't tried the vaulting yet, but just kind of like selling, on listing on eBay. You don't have to take really nice pictures of your cards. You can just save the image that they've already put up. So I think it's really a great way to sell online.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really nice that PSA, like, when you're done with it, they act like they provide you with a really nice, high quality image of the card.
Yeah,
Like, before you even receive it in hand. So theoretically, you could show it off and sell it, or show it off to your friends before you even receive it in hand, which definitely a nice advantage of modern day technology.
I have seen that. I have seen the eBay listings, not in hand or not in hand. Instagram stories where it's like this is coming next week, offer up OBO, and I'm just like, man, you don't even have the card, but I think it's
Yeah,
great that people are that excited.
I, yeah, to a degree, I think a lot of those people, like, there are, like, I'm not like this with cards when, like, with my yeah, I guess kind of like a side note, I've got like my personal collection, and then I've got
Hmm.
like my for vending collection. Uh,
Hmm.
but like with like the stuff that I'm trying to sell, I'm not necessarily. I try and move through it quicker than I did 2 years ago, but I'm not like a Roth cards type guy, let's say, and like I'm not trying to have an entirely new set of cards that I'm trying to sell in like 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of those people who are showing off, like, are trying to sell their cards before they're even in hand, are the types of people who are really trying to move through cards like it's no tomorrow, just
Like
super quick.
volume.
Yeah,
Right. I understand why it's called inventory, and I still use the term. It's maybe more when I set up as a dealer because we all wear many different hats, but my PC is not my inventory. I can very
yeah,
much say that. The cards that I just got from Fanatics Fest, and we're not going to talk at all about Fanatics Fest. I'll talk to you offline about that stuff. But
cool.
people are, I posted up on Instagram not to sell it, not it's not available, but people will DM me, hey, is that Jordan for sale or is that LeBron for sale? And I'm like, I literally just got it. I don't want to. I know
Yeah,
some people would be happy to flip it for a profit, and people talk about the margins and like 10% is good enough because that's the stock market, et cetera, et cetera. And in my head, I'm like, these are not like commodity cards. These are not inventory. Yes, they some of the, especially like maybe not the LeBrons and Jordans, but like if we're talking certain like silver PSA 10 cards, right? Silver rookie PSA 10s, like they transact on a daily basis multiple
Yeah,
times. So on the public market. So for me, like I get that, the ubiquitous nature of commodity cards, but I mean, I can't part ways with Jordans I just got.
yeah, no,
Who's
that
your
makes sense.
Jordan then? Who's your PC?
Yeah, so my PC is Giants, Yankees, and Kobe.
Right, but like who specifically?
Well, yeah, Kobe, Derek Jeter, OBJ, Victor Cruz, Mickey Mantle.
Still OBJ. Okay.
Oh yeah, I literally just got a flawless OBJ RPA.
Does it matter? Okay, so the RPA is clearly in a Giants uniform, but would you collect any OBJ that's in a Browns uniform?
Probably not.
Yeah, or I guess where is he now? Ravens. It's so
I
hard
think
to
he's
tell.
on Miami now,
Is he
actually.
in Miami now? Oh boy.
Yep.
So it has to be a Giants uniform.
Yeah, because like I feel like his best playing days were definitely in a
Yeah,
Giants uniform.
yeah, agree.
Maybe you could argue like while he was on the Rams, like he had a really good stint there until he got injured. But
Hmm.
everyone remembers him playing on the Giants, and that's
Yeah,
obviously my memories of him. Like I don't know, when I was watching him play the Cowboys and he made that catch, like
yeah.
it completely changed everything. I was like, okay, I was like, this is the guy that I want to see on the Giants for the next 10 years, and 10 years later, he's on the Dolphins. So
I know, right? That's the day when Bailey became a man.
honestly,
No, I love it. I think that's fantastic. So, all right. So we know we have a good sense of your hobby journey, your PC, your national experience. We're almost at the 30-minute mark, so I kind of wanted to pivot towards the show. Again, it's you picked a very specific date. Just tell us about kind of like the bird's eye view of date, time, venue, logistics, square footage, number tables, all of that. So whatever you want to start with.
yeah, definitely. So I mean, I guess answering your question, yeah, it's on Kobe Day, which is August 24th, 8/24. Time is from 10 to 4 p.m. It's in Arlington, Virginia, in the Ballston neighborhood. So for any of the listeners who are familiar with that area, it's the sister building of where the Nando's is in Ballston. Uh, there's a parking garage available in the building. The cost for parking there is fairly cheap, but I'm making admission free, understanding that people have to pay something to get there. There's going to be 52 tables, although I will say for future shows, there'll be more like 90 tables.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, I think that's a decent kind of broad, quick overview of the show.
All tables are sold out, right?
Yeah, all tables have been sold out since the National.
Wow. And you have a waiting list.
Yeah, the waiting list is like 30 people deep right now.
Wow. And do you have when you ask people if they want to be a dealer, or the website or however it is, well, actually, let me ask you, how did dealers know about the show for you to be sold out so quick?
Yeah, so the first thing that I did was kind of, I've been setting up as a vendor at shows pretty
Mhm.
religiously for the
Yep.
last 2 years. So I've got a decent number of connections with, active vendors. So I was able to reach out. Like the first thing I did was reach out to all of my vendor friends and first off ask them, hey, if I did this, is this something you'd be interested in setting up at? And when the response was pretty overwhelmingly yes, I was like, okay, let's go ahead and do it. uh, yeah, like the first kind of venue that I was able to get vendors to sign up was through my connections over the years of being a vendor, reaching out to them directly. I think that probably got about 20 tables sold.
Hmm.
But then from there, I definitely kind of felt like I was starting to write my own little how to promote a sports card show. But yeah, so I advertised it on Sports Collectors Digest, on Sports Card Investors show calendar, on the Beckett show calendar. I added events. There's like Arlington websites for events, so I was able to add it to all those different Arlington event websites. I purchased ads on Instagram and Facebook. I I was thinking of making a separate Instagram page for the show, but I figured I didn't want to start from ground zero making a separate page for that.
Mm.
So I figured I would just go ahead and use my existing page there. Facebook, I did make a new page. I did a road trip around the DMV, going to all the different hobby shops, giving them physical flyers to post in the store. I'm sure there's probably some that I'm forgetting, but
No,
that's
you
kind of the
you
main
clearly put
things.
in the work. I mean, that's a lot of man hours and um, amount of money to advertise. Because I think one common misconception is misperception. I don't even know. It's so late. It's so late. We had to delay this by longer than my bedtime. I think a lot of people think, oh, you just get the well, again, we're not going to talk specific amounts of money, but for a table, like 6 foot, 8 foot tables, and how much are tables? Like $50, something like that.
Yeah, 6 foot tables. Each table is $50.
Yeah.
Uh, and
So
I will say I kept the table cost for this first show a little bit lower than what I'm
yeah,
planning on having at for pretty much all future shows.
right. So
Uh,
I think a lot of people think, oh, you just multiply the cost of the table times the number of tables, you minus the venue costs, and oh wow, like this promoter is making so much money, and they're just hand fist over dollar. But there's the advertising, there's the marketing, there's the like you're making a mission free for people, and you're actually doing giveaways, right? You're the vendors. I'm as an ambassador, I plan to have some Kobe stuff giveaways for whether it's the kids or the adults, but there's a lot of these costs that people don't have in mind.
yeah, so I guess just talking like percentages, not necessarily talking like the actual numbers. As a percent, probably the like of table fees that the venue costs. I want to say it's about 65%.
Mm,
I, but then the other 35%, pretty much, especially for this first show, all went into advertising,
hmm
went into getting giveaways for people. It's something that people don't think about. You need event insurance for renting the space,
mm,
which is definitely a solid chunk of cost. That's probably like 10% of the table fees.
okay,
Yeah, so there are a ton of other costs associated with it.
gotcha. And can you tell us a little bit about the venue? Like I've been in the Ballston area. There's you talk about that Nando's. I don't think I've been to that particular Nando's, but I've definitely had Nando's peri peri chicken. Shout out to Nando's and its wonderful South African chicken. Ballston Quarters nearby, which again for people who are just not in this area will be like, what are they talking about? But Ballston is a pretty nice neighborhood in Arlington, Virginia. Really near, I think a lot of people know about, say, the Pentagon City, maybe not so much Crystal City, but Ballston, Clarendon Courthouse. That's called like basically like the Orange Line corridor because that's the Orange Line
Yep.
from DC out to the more, I guess, suburbs of Northern Virginia. But Ballston's a really nice neighborhood. Parking will be tough, like in terms of like there isn't a lot of street parking, but like I said, there's the garage and there's also the mall parking, which is just 2 blocks away.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess like logistics wise with parking, like yeah, there's the parking garage available in the building, but Boston's a pretty built up area, so there's so many other parking garages in the area.
Yeah.
And to your point, there is the parking garage at the Boston Quarter, which if I had to guess, that you can probably fit 10,000 cars in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It would be. Do you have an expectation or a hope for the number of attendees? Like, are you gonna have like one of those clickers? Like, are you gonna be at the front? I know you're not gonna charge admission, but do you have a way of kind of figuring out how many people come in and out through the door?
Yeah, so generally the way that I'm going to be able to figure that out, I have to be able to give out raffle tickets in order to do the
Oh.
giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
So I know the number of the first raffle ticket that will be given away, and I'll know what the number on the raffle ticket is that's left when the show is done. And
Yeah.
I'm assuming there'll probably be some people who are just too unbothered to grab a giveaway ticket. Like they just want to get in, get their cards, and get out.
True.
So I'm sure that it might underestimate a little bit. But yeah, I think that's generally how I'm going to figure out how many people are there.
Okay, cool.
But I guess to set a goal for myself,
Mhm,
when I was like first thinking of this, in my mind I was like, if I can get 200 people to come out, that'd be great. But the more that I get feedback from people, and the more that people tell me like, yes, I'm coming, and yes, I'm bringing my friends, and this and that,
mhm.
I think 500 people honestly wouldn't be unreasonable, if not
Wow.
a lot more. So
Well, with the help of a show ambassador such as myself, trying to get some people through that door, get some feet coming through the entrance there. Yeah, I really hope for a successful show, and I think I checked the weather. I think it should be pretty nice because I think you and I talked about, and before I get to this whole trade night thing, um, I mean, can you kind of talk about like what made you think about doing this show in the first place then?
yeah, so there were some talks amongst. I think like I remember you had mentioned at some point like wanting to put on a show in Arlington. Uh,
Yeah.
I
You
know
stole
that
my
I.
idea, Bailey. No, I'm kidding. I can't. It's just I'm pulled so many different ways. But go ahead.
Yeah, but like I remember like you had mentioned it. I remember. Yeah, I'm not sure if Ryan with Mid Atlantic had ever like
Hmm.
made this public information, but he was going to put on a
Shout
show in
out to
Arlington.
Right. Shout out to Ryan. Yep.
Yep, shout out Ryan, shout out Mid Atlantic Card Show.
Yep.
But yeah, so he like him, you, and some other people were talking about putting on a show in Arlington. Uh, Ryan had to pull out. You had to pull out. Uh, so considering that, and I all due respect to the other show promoters in the area, but I could just I got the sense that the Northern Virginia card community needed another good, solid, consistent show in the area.
Good.
Because I think the main show that everyone will agree that everyone's excited about in the area is CSA and Chantilly.
Yep.
But that only happens 3 times a year.
Hmm.
And then outside of that, Northern Virginia doesn't have much in terms of card shows. So I can kind of just tell that there was a need in the area. And I just felt confident in my ability to be able to plan it to get people out there. So, my first thought you know, was screw it, let's do it.
Hmm.
But as I got more into it, I just keep on enjoying it more and more. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this weekend.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, those are all the good reasons why to do it. And we're certainly by no means are going to be disrespecting any of the show promoters in this area, but I will very much say the shows that I've been to in this area, it's from promoters who've been doing it for a while, and they've been through the highs and the lows, and they've seen all the waves. But one thing that we heard a lot about the national, and say by extension, I eventually will talk about the East Coast National in a future episode, but there are there are different dealers who cater to different clientele, and
Definitely.
one of the shows, right, half of the event space is comics, which sports and Pokemon people have no interest in,
Yeah,
and then another one is like in a hotel basement. It's just it's low ceilings, it's a little dingy. I'm sure the rent the rental fee is pretty low, but it's just nothing's going to compare to Fanatics Fest, and I'm not here to talk about it, but having a more modern feel is not such a bad thing. It's not, some people may feel like it's a threat to the old guard, but there can be different shows for different clientele and different just ambiances and different cards. So, I think there is a place for vintage collectors and vintage baseball and binders and white boxes, but that's just not, you know, if I see a value bin box, I want it to have like, 90s and early 2000s basketball cards, like refractors.
Yeah, I hear you.
But no, I think the way you said it is really good. It's you saw there was a need, and you're like, I think I can execute it. And a lot of my podcast has been about just it, just do it, just
Yeah,
go ahead, why not? So I'm glad you're doing it. I'm really proud of you.
yeah, I definitely appreciate that. Yeah, that feedback and the the words of support there. But yeah, I mean, I guess to kind of like keep going off of your point there. I like for instance like the show in like the basement of the hotel. I'd say that's more like a baseball focused show.
Hmm.
I've honestly never been to the half comics half sports show
Hmm.
because the promoter never responded to me. But yeah, so it yeah no and I could just see that there was a need, that the feedback from people was that we want more in the area, and I think that's what I've been able to do.
Yeah.
And of course, slightly unseen because we still haven't had the first show yet. But
Right. We do have to see how it goes, but
yeah,
we definitely have I don't want to say like high expectations. We want it, I'm going to do my best to make sure we get a lot of people through the door. You certainly don't need help selling tables because they're already sold out and there's a deep wait list, but yeah, like the main thing is at this point is day of logistics, which as an ambassador, I'm not just there to cut content and just screw around. I want to make sure people have a good time, so I will be going around, make sure everyone's doing well. Just if people want me to ask me where the bathroom is, I'll guide
yeah,
them. If I see trash on the ground, I'll pick it up. Just the way I want to take this ambassador. And it's so funny because you and I talked about it kind of like tongue in cheek after the whole national ambassador thing didn't work out for me. But I've thought a lot about what it means in general to be kind of like to represent a show. And yeah, it's great that you're promoting it. And there's certainly a lot of risk. Like if you can't sell the tables, you can get underwater and all that stuff. But there's I'm just glad to be helping out a local card friend. And you know, um, I just have I just want to do everything in my power to make sure that it goes well.
yeah, I definitely appreciate that. And I think to your point, like I think we're both trying to are going to be figuring out what it exactly means to be a show ambassador. So yeah, because and to another one of your points, I'm definitely not able to do it all alone.
Mhm.
Like I'm not going to have a table at the show, so I'm going to be pretty focused on making sure the show goes well.
Mhm.
I but there's only one of me, and there's 52 tables. I think it's like 35 vendors, and
Oh, because they have multiple tables, right?
exactly, and hopefully 500 plus attendees. So there's one of me for a lot of people and a lot of stuff going on. So I
Yeah,
definitely
absolutely.
appreciate
Um,
all of the the help that
oh yeah,
you've
sure.
been providing me. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I've had a lot of people reach out to offer their help throughout the day. We talked about eating wings earlier. Like our buddy Wing King will be helping out throughout the day.
Yep.
Yeah, Q Train Sports is going to be helping out throughout the day. So we've got some people who are
He,
be helping out.
those
So I'm very
those two
excited
are
to.
really good people. Sorry to interrupt you, but I continue to be impressed by their energy and their kindness. I think it's so important. So yeah, you'll definitely have help. I I mean, I had a question in my head, and it's getting a little bit late for me, I guess. But when it comes to well, let me ask a kind of simple, silly question, but it is kind of important. I know some promoters do some sort of drink or food for the vendors. Um, the Annandale show literally it's just a bag of chips. Ryan does like pizza and coffee, Mid Atlantic Sports Card Show in Silver Spring, Maryland, who I will have on this podcast. I've been talking about having him on, but the sense of urgency of having you on was just the timing of the show and the ambassadorship, and that was written into my contract agreement with you about number of podcast episodes and reels. I'm just kidding. But that's why I have you on so early. But I mean, talking about vendor support, right? I mean, it's a silly way to ask it, but it's also serious. On site day of, he's doing, making sure that they're taken care of from caffeinated to eating, but then also the communication. You just mentioned it, how I mean, I think I'm part of the email that you sent to all the dealers about information about the show, communication. I think one thing that maybe the vendors and even Fanatics Fest, which is a huge operation, that people were frustrated about was just the lack of information, and just kind of like not enough information. But Ryan's doing a Zoom with all the vendors, fielding questions. You're sending emails out. He's sending emails out, and then you do have some other promoters who they're still operating, and it's no disrespect, but they're still operating with the phone call each individual dealer just to see if they're going to say yes or no, and maybe a text. But then when people try to communicate out to them, it's just crickets. And it's just my opinion that we as a hobby community, whether you're a collector, vendor, um, like we could be served better, I think.
Exactly, and I think the biggest point that I can make is like I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for the card community. So that it doesn't make sense for me to be radio silent to people. It doesn't make sense for me to withhold information from people. Like I want people to be there. I want vendors to be satisfied with how the day went.
Mhm.
So yeah, it behooves me to be responsive to people, to because even today, like yeah, we kind of were talking about this before we started recording, but I'm down in Roanoke, Virginia right now for work, and when I got back out of the car, there was like 5 different people asking me questions about the show, and I
Mhm.
made sure to take my 5 minutes before going to get some dinner to answer people, because
Right.
especially like this close to the show, I want to make sure people are feeling comfortable about it. And like even last weekend, I know that you're friends with this dealer, so I'll go ahead and shout them out. But like Goat Sports Cards,
I knew you were going to say his name, Brian. Yep, absolutely.
yeah.
Go ahead. I
But
knew you were
yeah,
going to say his name.
but before Fanatics Fest, like he reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I'm going down with my family. I would love to see you there. If it's able to work out, like I can offer to drive you there." And there's
Yeah,
like many other dealers who like offered like a ride for me, which I was
that's
not
so nice.
expecting at all.
Yeah.
I was talking with him about it like after Fanatics Fest, and he was sending me pictures of like him and his family there, and like even if not for keeping everyone in the loop, keeping everyone up to date, making sure everyone's satisfied with how it's going, like I'm creating connections with people that I would not be able to make otherwise. So it's definitely been an enjoyable experience so far.
Yeah, I got invited to his 4th of July summer bash. Like this guy
That's
is so
awesome.
kind. He's so kind. I'm not going to get into all the reasons why I took a hiatus from the hobby, but upon my return, I just wanted to surround myself with good folks, and he's good folks. All the people you mentioned, I love this card community, and the local one is really just we just have a really good group.
I
And I
would tend
think
to agree.
we just want to, yeah, we just want to keep having fun. We want to keep the good times rolling, eat some good food, hang out, grade cards together, and just it. I mean, it can be we can all win, so to speak. Like it doesn't have to be binary. I know with transactions it can be very zero sum. Like you see a lot of this content on in our hobby space, right? Who won the deal, or flip the coin, who's gonna get the better end of this? And it's like, when it's done right, both parties can succeed and do well. And when it and take out the transactional side of things and like the cards, just more of like supporting each other, right? Like I would love, um, you know, if I ever do a show or if I do a trade night, I know you got my back. I mean, because we're all here for each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I first joined, like I shouldn't say joined. When I first got back into the hobby,
Hmm.
I I was doing some shows with I was doing some shows that was definitely run the older kind of way, and like the impression that I got from those shows was kind of sink or swim. I If you're new into it, then you may not necessarily do well. That was kind of
Oh,
the feeling I
yeah,
got from some of those other shows. But
right.
once I started moving to some other shows, started talking to different people, I kind of realized that and I guess this probably brings up another point of bad actors in the hobby, but there's a lot of people who have like been doing this for a while are set in their ways, but at the end of the day, like, I think there's a ton of people in the hobby, and like I think the majority of the people in the hobby are just generally looking to make connections with other like-minded people and just
Right.
make friends. Yeah,
We have I certainly want to focus on the positive and the good folks in the hobby, but it would be disingenuous to not mention just kind of like this, and we're not going to name anything by name on this podcast or at all, but I've come across the scammers, the Mr. Cranky Pants, Mrs. Cranky Pants, the bad customer service dealer, the high way overcomes, not willing to negotiate. Um, Not going to mention my name. I don't think I caught it on camera, but like I've had some people, uh, you know, kind of say, at the at Fanatics Fest, every single dealer, hey, I got some cards, or would you be possibly willing to do a part cash, part trade deal? Yeah, sure, I'll take a look. I love that. Yeah, it depends on what you got. Sure, I'll take a look. Everyone wants to take a look, and that's great. East Coast National, there were several dealers who were like, "No, I'm just trying to move inventory. I don't." Yeah, they didn't even want to look. And in the process of looking, you can just strike a conversation and just keep someone at your table when you immediately say no. And it wasn't like I was just going up to tables being like, "What's your best?" Or because I saw some members of the public who were just not on their best behaviors, whether
sure.
they knew it or not. But what's your best and what's your lowest, and like you just come up, hey, do you do trades? Like that's not the way to, in my opinion, it's not the way to operate. But I'm just trying to strike up a conversation with the dealer. Hey, I like these cars. Would you be willing to do? And they were just like flat out no's. And it's like, well, you might just go home with all of your inventory still intact because you're not willing to have a conversation. So there is, and I don't want to just necessarily call it the old guard, because I'm sure the old guard also doesn't like the, you know I don't know if anyone in their 60s is going to be like, what's your best? That's usually more of a,
Yeah,
a younger person's way, because I saw it happen a lot with these teens and early 20s kids, just come up to a show table, what's your best? And then they get a number and they just like walk away. They don't even say thank you or, you know, goodbye. They just go away like you're like a video game and you're interacting with you remember like NPCs, non-playable characters. You're just like no, these are real people. We are all real people. You shouldn't operate as if this is an NPC. But we have that type of behavior going around. But no, it's good that I think I've seen your dealer list. You have such a good group. It's most people that I know, like I've bought from, I've traded with, I've sold to. And I think you're gonna have a really good group of dealers, kind group of dealers. Who knows who's gonna walk through that door as a member of the public? But I know that we're gonna do our best to just make sure people feel welcome, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all I really want. I just want, if anyone like it if news of the show comes in front of anyone, the first thing that I want them to be able to understand is I'm welcome, and then if they actually are able to go, I just want them to go away from the show, understanding like I had a great time, but B, that I was welcomed here, I'm welcome back, and this is a place that I want to see myself in the future. So
Right, right.
yeah, and that's
That's
all that I can really ask for, honestly, is because if that's the takeaway from from vendors, from attendees for the show, then it's only up from there.
oh my god. Mid gulp, you ended your sentence. Um, I'm really excited for you and this local car community. I think it's going to be a great show. We're going to do our absolute best to, again, I'm not a host, but I'm an ambassador. I'm going to just make sure people are doing well. And if I got to figure out who's the biggest out of all of us who could be a bouncer. I don't know if I can be a bouncer, but if we need to get the riffraff out of there, we're going to have to get someone to flex their muscles and get someone out of there.
I'm sure my
Um
dad, 5'2", fresh
yeah,
off of knee surgery. I'm sure he'll Good
Hey,
job.
he's scrappy. I mean, he grew up in the Massachusetts area, so you got to watch out for the small ones. They can scrap.
Exactly.
No, that's great. But no, thank you so much for sharing your journey. We are almost at the hour marks, and I knew we were gonna blow past 30 to 45 minutes, but
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
want to go
predicting.
past an hour. Yeah, I don't want to go past an hour. We're just gonna have to do a follow up. Whether it's like next week or sometime. Would love to have you on again and just talk about how things are going. I am just like I said, like I don't want to sound too parental or but I really am. I'm truly proud of you for doing this and taking the like you are actually, like anytime you do something in this hobby, you become a potential source of criticism, or like you're the man in the arena that Theodore Roosevelt talks about. Now, I mean, I've certainly felt that way with what I've been doing. It's just it's the nature of the beast is you're gonna get a lot of people who have opinions, right, good, bad, and ugly, and whatever it is. But for you to just be like, what, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do my absolute best with driving out to LCSs, marketing online, getting us into what is it, the Arlington Now, ARL Now. Shout out to ARL Now and ALX Now, our local online newspapers. But yeah, you've been doing it right, and I'm really, I wouldn't have done this just for anyone. I feel like it had to be the right person to, kind of like be an ambassador for their show, and so I'm really happy for you, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And for any of the listeners who maybe can't see my face, I am towards the younger side of the hobby, maybe. So maybe that's where some of the parental kind of side that comes
Proud of
from.
you. Yeah.
But yeah, no,
I'm the
I
hobby
really
uncle,
appreciate the.
which people hate, but my joke. No, yeah, when I got to meet you and your dad that first time, I got a really good sense from you, and we became fast friends after that. And yeah, but you and some of our other local friends, you guys are just you're like, hey, can we push this podcast time? I'm like, I'm gonna be so sleepy, but no, you guys give me the vibrancy, you guys give me the youth, you give me the energy, so I love that. And so yeah, I just think that this is going to you know be something that people talk about and look forward to. So I'm gonna do my absolute best to publish this out the morning of August 22nd so that people can digest it if they live close enough. I by no means would either of us say that this is a destination show like Culture Collision or Burbank show. 52 tables. It's so funny. I'm looking at my calendar right now. The WWE is doing a Capital One Arena show the night before on August 23rd, and part of me is like, I've been thinking about going because after Fanatics Fest, it was just so fun. But
Yeah,
I think I'm going to want to be well rested for your show because 10 to 4, but dealers can come in what, 8:30, 9,
yeah. Dealers can start setting up at 8. I'll
8 o'clock.
probably get
Okay.
in there 7 a.m. because I'm getting a table delivery that morning, so I'll have to
Yeah.
set up some tables.
Yeah, and I won't say I'll be there at 7 or definitely at 8, but I want to get there before 9 o'clock. I want to do some, again, let's just make sure the vendors are taken care of. Will you have coffee for the vendors?
Yeah, I'll have coffee. I'll have water. I'm not providing food for this show, but the main reason being that Ballston's got over 50 different restaurants within walking distance. So I kind of want to encourage dealers to be able to get up from their table for 15 minutes and explore the area at
Good.
least slightly.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, that reminds me, trade night. So we have explored the idea of doing trade night, and you gave the thumbs up. There's not going to be a rental of a space afterwards. It's not going to be in like any enclosed space, but Ballston Quarter does have like an outdoor, almost like green stairs area where like faux. I guess it's artificial turf, but if the weather's nice, which it looks like it's going to be a high of 85 and cloudy, so it might be really cool. But there's also an indoor area where it's like a food court. So again, I
Exactly.
don't know how many people will want to do the trade night. For members of the public who are very new to the hobby, they'll have no idea. But having said that, those of us who do know, and I am going to put this in my reel or advertise it. I guess I'm going to do it tomorrow because tomorrow's Thursday. Wow. But yeah, let's do a trade night, like almost like a spontaneous or ad hoc or pop up, whatever you want to call it. Let's go ahead and I'll kind of spearhead that. But yeah, it won't be anything like reserved or anything like that because we're not.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to do it on the cheap, on the low, on the free.
Yeah, exactly. Just like an Instagram story. If you're still looking for more action today, go to the quarter, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you so much, Bailey. Can you say your Instagram handle just for everyone and any last words?
Yep. Instagram handle is at fire.sportscards. Uh, yeah, and I guess the main thing I'll leave you guys with is I hope everyone's doing well.
Awesome. I love to hear it. All right. Well, you have a good night's rest and see see you just in a couple of days, I guess. It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a long day tomorrow. I'm going to be out in the construction site all day. So
Oh boy. Oh boy.
oh yeah.
Man, blue collar man right there. Okay. All right. I'll see you later. Take care.
Awesome. See ya.
All right.